The rain pounds against the crumbling warehouse windows as Elena Marchetti clutches her swollen belly, crimson seeping through her fingers. 6 months pregnant and bleeding, she presses her back against the cold concrete wall, her breath coming in sharp gasps. "Please," she whispers to the empty darkness. "Not my baby. Please, not my baby." The metallic scent of blood mingles with the musty air of the abandoned building where she's been hiding for 3 days. 3 days since she discovered the truth about her late husband Marco's debts. 3 days since the Torino clan made it clear that his death wouldn't absolve what he owed them. Her phone buzzes weakly against the floor where she dropped it. A text from an unknown number. "We know where you are, widow. Marco's debts are now yours. Pay up or join him." Elena's vision blurs as another wave of pain shoots through her abdomen. The bleeding started an hour ago, and she knows with sickening certainty that she needs help. But the hospital would mean paperwork, questions, and eventually the Torinos would find her there. She closes her eyes, thinking of Marco's last words to her in the hospital. "I'm sorry, Elena. I'm so sorry. They'll come for you." She'd thought he was delirious from the medication. She'd been wrong. The warehouse door creaks open, and Elena's heart hammers against her ribs. Heavy footsteps echo across the concrete, measured and deliberate. Not the hurried, aggressive steps of the Torino thugs she's been expecting. These footsteps speak of control, of power held in careful check. "I can smell your blood from 3 blocks away. Before we continue, please prove my mom wrong and subscribe." "Okay, let's continue." The voice is deep, cultured, with just a hint of an accent she can't place. Elena forces her eyes open and sees a figure emerging from the shadows. Tall, imposing, dressed in a perfectly tailored black coat despite the late hour. His pale skin seems to catch what little light filters through the grimy windows, and his dark hair is swept back from a face that's both beautiful and terrifying. "Stay back," Elena manages, though her voice barely rises above a whisper. "I don't have anything. I can't pay anyone anything." The stranger steps closer and she sees his eyes, silver blue and ancient, holding depths that make her feel dizzy. "I'm not here for money, Elena Marchetti." Her name on his lips sends a chill down her spine. "How do you know?" "I know many things." He crouches down in front of her, moving with fluid grace. Up close, she can see the sharp angles of his cheekbones, the aristocratic line of his jaw. "I know your husband borrowed money from the Torinos to pay off gambling debts. I know he was killed 3 weeks ago in what they made look like a car accident. And I know you're bleeding because stress and fear are threatening to take your child from you." Elena stares at him, her breath catching. "Who are you?" Someone who has been watching the Torino family's activities with great interest. His gaze drops to her hands pressed against her stomach. "You're losing too much blood. You need help." "I can't go to a hospital. They'll find me there." Something flickers across his features. Anger, perhaps, or something darker. "The Torinos will not touch you in my presence. I give you my word." "Your word?" Elena lets out a bitter laugh that turns into a gasp of pain. "I don't even know your name. Why would you help me? What do you want?" He extends his hand toward her, palm up. His fingers are long, elegant, with calluses that speak of someone who's done more than sit behind a desk his entire life. "My name is Damian Rosetti, and what I want is to see the Torino clan reminded of their place in this city's hierarchy." The name hits her like a physical blow. Everyone in Little Italy knows the Rosetti name, though most speak it only in whispers. Old family, old money. The kind of power that doesn't need to advertise itself because everyone already knows. "You're," she breathes. "Yes." His silver eyes never leave hers. "And you, Elena, are going to help me send a very clear message to your late husband's creditors." Another cramp doubles her over and she cries out softly. Damian's expression shifts immediately, the calculating politician replaced by something more primal, more protective. "Enough talking. You need medical attention now." He moves closer, close enough that she can smell his cologne, Something expensive and understated that makes her think of old libraries and whispered secrets. "May I?" She nods, not trusting her voice. His arms slide under her knees and back, lifting her with surprising gentleness. She's shocked by his strength. He lifts her as though she weighs nothing, pregnant belly and all. "I've got you," he murmurs against her hair. "I won't let anything happen to you or your child." The conviction in his voice makes something tight in her chest loosen for the first time in weeks. As he carries her toward the door, Elena finds herself studying his profile in the dim light. There's something otherworldly about him, something that makes her think of marble statues and Renaissance paintings. His skin is too pale, too perfect, and she swears she can see the shadow of something sharp when he speaks. "Mr. Rosetti." "Damian," he corrects softly. "Damian, why are you really doing this?" "The truth." He pauses just outside the warehouse, rain misting around them. When he looks down at her, his eyes seem to glow in the darkness. "Because your husband made a deal with the wrong family. The Torinos think they own this city, but they're about to learn otherwise. That's not what I meant." A smile tugs at the corner of his mouth, revealing just a hint of something that might be fangs. "I know exactly what you meant, Elena, but some truths are better revealed slowly." The car waiting outside is sleek and black, with tinted windows and a driver who doesn't react at all to the sight of his employer carrying a bleeding pregnant woman. Damian slides into the back seat, with her still cradled against his chest. "St. Mary's Hospital," he tells the driver. "Use the private entrance." Elena rests her head against his shoulder, exhaustion finally overtaking fear. His body temperature is oddly cool, but being held feels like the first safe moment she's had in weeks. "I still don't understand any of this." "Your husband came to me before he died," Damian says quietly, his fingers absently stroking her hair. "He knew the Torinos would come for you, and he begged me to protect you if anything happened to him." "Marco knew you?" Elena lifts her head to stare at him. "But how?" "Marco's grandfather worked for my family years ago. When Marco found himself in trouble, he remembered the old stories, the old loyalties." Damian's jaw tightens. "I arrived too late to save him, but I gave him my word about you." The car glides through the empty streets, and Elena watches the city pass by in a blur of streetlights and shadows. "What kind of work did his grandfather do for your family?" "The kind that required absolute discretion and unfailing loyalty." Damian's thumb traces along her wrist, and she shivers at the contact. "The kind that bound our families together, whether Marco realized it or not." At the hospital, everything happens with supernatural efficiency. They're whisked through a private entrance, met by a medical team that asks no questions, and Elena finds herself in a private room being examined by a doctor who clearly knows exactly who's paying the bills. "The bleeding has stopped," Dr. Richardson announces after what feels like hours of tests and monitoring. "Baby's heartbeat is strong, but you need rest, proper nutrition, and as little stress as possible." Elena nods from her position on the hospital bed, finally clean and comfortable for the first time in days. "Thank you." The doctor glances toward the corner where Damian has been standing motionless as a statue, watching everything with those unnerving pale eyes. "She can go home tomorrow if she continues to improve overnight." "She doesn't have a home to go to," Damian says quietly. "She'll be staying with me." Elena starts to protest, but he raises a hand. "We'll discuss it after the doctor leaves." When they're finally alone, Elena studies Damian in the harsh hospital lighting. He looks even more otherworldly here, his skin almost luminous against his dark clothing. "I can't stay with you. I barely know you." "Where else will you go?" He moves closer to her bedside, his movements still that strange, fluid grace she noticed in the warehouse. "Back to your apartment, where the Torinos are undoubtedly waiting? A hotel, where they'll find you within hours?" "I could leave the city. Running is not a solution when you're 6 months pregnant and have no resources." His tone is gentle, but implacable. "I have a large house, with excellent security and staff who value their discretion above all else. You'll be safe there." Elena looks down at her hands folded over her belly. The baby kicks, a strong flutter that makes her smile despite everything. What do you get out of this arrangement? The satisfaction of honoring my promise to your husband. Damian pulls the visitor's chair closer to her bed and sits, bringing himself to her eye level. And perhaps the pleasure of your company while I arrange for the Torinos to learn some manners. What does that mean exactly? It means you don't need to worry about them anymore. Something dangerous flickers in his silver eyes. The Rosetti family has been in this city for over 2 centuries, Elena. We've survived and thrived by understanding when to show mercy and when to demonstrate strength. The Torinos have mistaken our recent discretion for weakness. The way he says 2 centuries makes her pause. She studies his face, noting again how ageless he seems, how his skin has the pallor of someone who sees very little sunlight. How old are you? His smile reveals just a hint of those sharp teeth she glimpsed earlier. Old enough to remember when the Torino family first crawled out of whatever gutter they came from. A chill runs down Elena's spine that has nothing to do with the hospital's air conditioning. That's not really an answer. No, he agrees. It's not. She wants to press him, but exhaustion is pulling at her again. If I stay with you, just temporarily, what do you expect from me? Nothing more than you're willing to give. He reaches over and adjusts her blanket with careful fingers. Rest. Eat properly. Let my staff take care of you. Focus on staying healthy for your child. And that's all? His hand stills against the blanket, and he looks up at her with an expression she can't read. What else would there be? I don't know. She stops, feeling foolish. Men don't usually go to this much trouble for nothing. I am not most men, Elena. His voice is soft, but there's steel underneath it. Your husband left you to face his debts alone, pregnant and terrified. I find that unacceptable. The quiet fury in his tone makes her heart skip. It wasn't his choice. He died. He had many choices along the way that led to his death. He chose to gamble, chose to borrow money from criminals, chose to keep you in the dark about the danger he was bringing to your door. Damian's fingers trace along the edge of her hand. I would never make such choices. You don't even know me. I know you're brave. You've been surviving on your own for 3 weeks, protecting your unborn child while men with guns hunt you through the city. His thumb brushes across her knuckles. I know you're intelligent. You've avoided capture this long, by thinking ahead and trusting your instincts. And I know you're stronger than you realize. Elena stares down at their joined hands. His skin is marble pale against hers, cool to the touch but somehow comforting. I used to think I knew what my life would be like. Marco and I had plans, a little house in Queens, family dinners on Sundays, watching our children grow up safe and happy. Those things are still possible. Not the way I imagined them. She looks up at him, noting how his eyes seem to catch and reflect the light like an animal's. Nothing will ever be the way I imagined it. Perhaps that's not entirely a bad thing. Damian's smile is enigmatic. Sometimes life has better plans for us than the ones we make for ourselves. The next morning, Elena wakes to find an elegant woman in her 50s arranging fresh flowers by the window. The woman has silver hair pulled back in a perfect chignon and moves with the same fluid grace Elena noticed in Damian. Good morning, Mrs. Marchetti. I'm Catherine, Mr. Rosetti's housekeeper. The woman's voice carries a faint accent, Irish perhaps. He asked me to bring you some proper clothes for the journey home. Elena sits up carefully, noting that the bleeding has completely stopped and she feels stronger than she has in weeks. Home? To the estate. The doctor has cleared you for release. Catherine's pale eyes are kind but knowing. Mr. Rosetti is handling your discharge paperwork. The clothes Catherine has brought are beautiful. A soft cashmere dress in deep blue, comfortable shoes. A coat that probably costs more than Elena made in a month at the diner where she used to work. Everything fits perfectly, which should probably concern her more than it does. How did he know my size? Mr. Rosetti is very observant. Catherine says diplomatically. "The car is waiting when you're ready." The ride through the city takes them away from the cramped neighborhoods Elena knows, up into the hills where old money lives behind wrought iron gates and manicured hedges. The Rosetti estate is breathtaking. A sprawling mansion that looks like it was transplanted from a European castle, complete with towers and gargoyles watching from the roofline. "It's beautiful," Elena breathes as they pull up the circular drive. "It's been in the family for generations," Catherine says. "Mr. Rosetti takes great pride in maintaining it." Damian is waiting for them at the massive front door, dressed in dark slacks and a white shirt that makes his pale skin look almost luminous. In daylight, he's even more striking, though Elena notices he stays carefully in the shadow of the doorway. "How are you feeling?" he asks as he helps her from the car. "Better. Stronger." She looks up at the mansion's imposing facade. "This is incredible. It's home." He offers her his arm, and she notices again how cool his skin feels, even through his shirt. "Let me show you around." The interior is as impressive as the exterior. High ceilings, rich woods, artwork that looks museum quality, but it's not cold or forbidding. There are comfortable chairs arranged near a massive fireplace, books scattered on side tables, fresh flowers in every room. It feels lived in, loved. "Your room is on the second floor," Damian says as they climb a sweeping staircase. "It has a sitting area and overlooks the garden. I thought you might enjoy the morning sun." The room he shows her is larger than her entire apartment was, with tall windows and furniture that looks antique but comfortable. There's a fireplace, a reading nook with a window seat, and French doors that open onto a balcony. "It's too much," Elena says softly. "I can't accept all this." "You're not accepting it. You're using it temporarily while you recover your strength and decide what you want to do next." Damian moves to the windows, staying just out of the direct sunlight streaming through. "Consider it a sanctuary." "And what do you consider me?" He turns to look at her, his silver eyes intense. A woman who deserves better than she's been given. A mother who should be worried about nursery colors, not whether she'll survive the night. Something in his tone makes her chest tight. "Damian, Rest," he says gently. "Catherine will bring you lunch in an hour. This evening, if you're feeling up to it, perhaps you'll join me for dinner." He's gone before she can respond, moving with that unnaturally graceful speed she's beginning to recognize. Elena stands alone in the beautiful room, one hand on her belly, trying to process how dramatically her life has changed in the space of 24 hours. That evening, she finds herself in a formal dining room that could seat 20, though only 2 places are set at one end of the long table. Candles cast flickering shadows on the walls, and she notices that Damian has chosen the seat that keeps him furthest from the tall windows. "You don't like sunlight," she observes as Catherine serves dinner. Some kind of perfectly prepared fish that Elena doesn't recognize but tastes incredible. "I have a rare medical condition that makes me photosensitive," Damian says smoothly. "I find I do my best work after dark anyway." "What kind of work do you do exactly?" She takes another bite, realizing she's hungrier than she's been in weeks. "I manage the family's investments, real estate mostly, though we have interests in several businesses throughout the city." He hasn't touched his own food, she notices, though his wine glass is nearly empty. "What about you? Before Marco died, what did you do?" "I was a waitress at Benedetto's on Mulberry Street. It wasn't glamorous, but I liked the people and the tips were decent." Elena pauses. "I was planning to keep working until the baby came, but after Marco died, I couldn't afford the apartment on my own." "The Torinos drove you from your job as well as your home." "They made it clear that nowhere was safe as long as I owed them money." Her hand moves instinctively to her belly. "I've been hiding in abandoned buildings, spending what little savings we had on food, and trying to stay ahead of them." Damian's jaw tightens, and for a moment his eyes seem to flash with something inhuman. "That ends now. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to remind them that there are older, more powerful families in this city than theirs." He finally takes a bite of his food, and Elena catches a glimpse of those sharp teeth again. "Families that don't take kindly to threats against those under their protection." "And I'm under your protection now?" "You are." His voice carries absolute certainty. along with your child. Elena sets down her fork, studying his face in the candlelight. There's something you're not telling me. Something about what you are. There are many things I'm not telling you. The question is whether you truly want to know them. I think I deserve to know who I'm trusting with my life. Damian is quiet for a long moment, swirling the dark wine in his glass. What do you know about the old families, Elena? The ones who built this city before it became what it is today? You mean like the Roosevelts? The Astors? Older than that. Families who came here when this was still a Dutch trading post. Families who've watched the city grow and change while they remained constant. Something in his tone makes her shiver. Constant how? Instead of answering, Damian rises and moves to the sideboard, where he pours himself another glass of wine. His movements are too smooth, too graceful, like he's floating rather than walking. How old are you, Damian? Elena asks quietly. He turns to face her, wine glass in hand, and his smile reveals just a hint of fangs. Old enough to remember when the Torino family first arrived in New York. Old enough to have known your husband's great-great-grandfather. The room seems to grow colder, and Elena's heart begins to race. That's impossible. Is it? He moves closer but stops just outside arm's reach, as though giving her space to process. Haven't you noticed how I avoid sunlight? How my skin is cold to the touch? How I seem to know things about your situation that I shouldn't know? Elena's mind races, connecting details she'd been trying to ignore. The pale skin, the way his eyes seemed to glow in the darkness, the casual way he'd mentioned 2 centuries, the strength with which he'd lifted her, the fangs she kept glimpsing. She can't make herself say the word. I'm what your husband's grandfather would have called old blood, what others might call vampire. Damian sets his wine glass down carefully. And before you ask, no, I will not hurt you. The opposite, in fact. My kind have very strict codes about protecting those who fall under our care. Elena stares at him, her world tilting off its axis. Vampires aren't real. We're quite real, though we prefer to keep a low profile in the modern world. It's better for everyone involved. He moves closer, slowly, watching her reaction. The Rosetti family has been in this city for over 200 years, Elena. We've built our power carefully, quietly, preferring influence to spectacle. But the Torinos are human, mortal, and they've been operating in territories we've claimed as ours for decades without acknowledging the proper hierarchy. His eyes flash with anger. Taking someone under my protection was the final insult. Elena's hand moves to her belly protectively. What does this mean for me? For my baby? It means you're safer than you've ever been in your life. Damian kneels beside her chair, bringing himself to her eye level. It means that no one will ever threaten you again without facing consequences they can't imagine. And what do you want from me in return? Nothing you don't want to give. His hand hovers near hers on the table, not quite touching. But I won't lie to you, Elena. I'm drawn to you in ways I haven't experienced in decades. Your strength, your courage, the way you fought to protect your child against impossible odds. It calls to something in me I thought was long dead. Elena looks down at his hand, so pale against the dark wood of the table. I don't know how to process any of this. You don't have to process it all at once. We have time. Do we? What happens when the Torinos realize where I am? Damian's smile turns predatory. Let me worry about the Torinos. The next morning, Elena wakes to raised voices from somewhere in the house. She pulls on a robe, silk, expensive, left hanging in the wardrobe filled with clothes that all fit her perfectly, and makes her way downstairs. Told you she was under my protection, Damian is saying, his voice carrying a cold fury that makes Elena's blood freeze. Did you think I was speaking metaphorically? She reaches the main hall and sees Damian standing near the front door, still in shadow, but radiating menace. Facing him are 3 men she recognizes with a jolt of terror, Tony Torino and 2 of his lieutenants. Look, Rosetti, we respect your family's position in the city, Tony is saying, his voice conciliatory, but with an undercurrent of threat. But business is business. The woman owes us money. The woman owes you nothing. Her husband's debts died with him. That's not how we do things. It's how you'll do things with anyone under my protection. Damian takes a step forward, and all three men instinctively step back. Unless you'd prefer to discuss this matter through other channels. Elena sees Tony's face pale at whatever he reads in Damian's expression. We don't want any trouble with your family. Then leave, now. And spread the word that Elena Marchetti is not to be approached, threatened, or even looked at sideways by anyone in your organization. And if we don't? Damian's smile reveals his fangs fully, and Elena watches in fascination as all three men freeze like rabbits caught in headlights. Then you'll discover why the older families have maintained their position in this city for so long. The Torinos leave without another word, practically tripping over each other in their haste to get out the door. Damian stands watching until their car disappears down the drive, then turns and sees Elena on the stairs. How much did you hear? He asks. Enough. She comes down the rest of the way, her heart still pounding. Will they stay away? They will if they have any sense of self-preservation. He moves toward her, concern replacing the cold fury in his eyes. You should be resting. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what you told me last night. And what conclusion did you reach? Elena looks at him, really looks at him. The pale skin that seems to glow with its own light, the silver eyes that hold centuries of knowledge. The way he moves like gravity affects him differently than everyone else. I think, she says slowly, that I've spent 3 weeks running from the wrong monsters. I am still a monster, Elena. Don't mistake that. Are you? You've shown me more kindness in 2 days than most people show in a lifetime. You've protected me, cared for me, asked for nothing in return. She reaches out and touches his cheek, marveling at the coolness of his skin. If you're a monster, you're not a very good one. His hand comes up to cover hers, pressing it against his face. You don't know what I'm capable of. I know what you've chosen to do with your capabilities. You could have ignored Marco's request. You could have let the Torinos have me. Instead, you're here, keeping me and my baby safe. Your baby? His eyes drop to her rounded belly. Have you thought about what kind of life you want for your child? Safe, loved, free from fear. Elena pauses. Things I never thought I'd be able to give him or her. And now? Now I'm starting to think those things might be possible after all. Damian's thumb traces along her cheekbone. Elena, I need you to understand something. My world, the world you'd be entering if you stayed with me. It's not entirely safe. There are others of my kind who might see you as a weakness to exploit. There are humans who hunt us. There are complications you can't imagine. And your world also has you in it, she says softly. Someone who makes me feel protected for the first time in my adult life. Someone who looks at me like I matter. You do matter, more than you know. She steps closer, close enough that she can see the silver flecks in his eyes, close enough to catch that expensive cologne that makes her think of old books and whispered secrets. Damian, Her words are interrupted by a sharp pain in her abdomen. She gasps, doubling over, and Damian catches her instantly. What's wrong? I don't know, it just... Another pain hits, stronger this time, and she cries out. Catherine! Damian's voice carries through the house with inhuman volume. The housekeeper appears instantly, taking one look at Elena's face and moving into action. I'll call Dr. Richardson, Catherine says, already reaching for her phone. No time, Damian says, lifting Elena into his arms. We're going to the hospital. Now! The ride passes in a blur of pain and fear. Elena clutches Damian's hand in the back seat, trying to breathe through contractions that seem to be coming closer together. It's too early, she gasps. The baby's not due for another 3 months. Stress can cause premature labor, Damian says, his voice steady, but his grip on her hand almost painfully tight. The confrontation this morning, the fear of the past few weeks, Your body has been through too much. At the hospital, they're met by the same medical team as before. Dr. Richardson takes one look at Elena and immediately starts barking orders. We need to stop the labor, he tells the nurses. Get her on a monitor, start an IV, and prep the medications. Elena finds herself back in a hospital bed, electrodes monitoring her baby's heartbeat while doctors work to halt her contractions. Through it all, Damian never leaves her side, his cool hand in hers serving as an anchor in the chaos. The baby's heartbeat is strong, Dr. Richardson says after what feels like hours. We've managed to stop the contractions for now, but you're going to need to stay here for observation, probably for the rest of your pregnancy. 3 months in the hospital? Elena's heart sinks. It's the safest option. Complete bed rest, careful monitoring, no stress whatsoever. After the medical team leaves, Elena stares at the ceiling, fighting back tears. I can't afford 3 months in the hospital. Even with whatever arrangements you've made, money is not a concern, Damian says quietly. It is for me. I can't be in your debt for that much. You're not in my debt for anything. He leans forward in his chair, still holding her hand. Elena, let me take care of this. Let me take care of you. Why? The tears she's been holding back finally spill over. I'm nobody special. I'm a pregnant widow with no money, no family, no prospects. Why would someone like you want to tie yourself to someone like me? Damian is quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing patterns on the back of her hand. When he finally speaks, his voice is softer than she's ever heard it. Do you know what it's like to live for 2 centuries, Elena? To watch everyone you care about age and die while you remain unchanged? To build walls around your heart because loving mortals means losing them? She turns to look at him, seeing something vulnerable in his silver eyes. I've spent the last 50 years convincing myself that isolation was preferable to loss, that it was better to observe life than to participate in it. His free hand comes up to touch her face, and then I saw you in that warehouse, bleeding and terrified, but still fighting to protect your child, and something I thought was dead woke up inside me. Damian, I'm not asking you to make any decisions now. I'm not asking for promises or commitments. I'm simply asking you to let me prove that you deserve better than the life you've been given. Elena studies his face, noting the way the harsh hospital lighting catches on his pale skin, the way his eyes seem to hold depths she could fall into. And what if I can't give you what you want in return? What I want is to see you safe and happy. What I want is to watch your child grow up knowing they're protected and loved. What I want is to be the man who stands between you and anyone who would hurt you. His smile is soft, almost shy. Everything else is just hope. The next morning brings an unexpected visitor. Elena wakes to find a woman in an expensive suit standing by the window, looking perfectly composed despite the early hour. Mrs. Marchetti? I'm Victoria Chen from the district attorney's office. Elena struggles to sit up in bed, immediately wary. What can I do for you? We understand you've been having some trouble with the Torino family. Threats, extortion, that sort of thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Victoria's smile is knowing. Mrs. Marchetti, we've been building a case against the Torino organization for months. Your testimony could be very valuable. My testimony about what? About the threats made against you regarding your late husband's debts. About the fear they've caused you, the stress that's landed you in this hospital bed. Elena's heart rate spikes, and the monitors start beeping. I can't testify against them. You don't understand. I understand that they can't hurt you if they're in prison. They have friends, family, people who would come after me. Not if you have the right protection. The door opens, and Damian enters with his usual fluid grace. He takes one look at Victoria Chen, and his expression goes cold. Ms. Chen, I wasn't aware you had an appointment with Mrs. Marchetti. Mr. Rosetti, I should have known you'd be involved in this somehow. Elena looks between them, sensing undercurrents she doesn't understand. You know each other? Ms. Chen and I have crossed paths before, Damian says diplomatically. She has a tendency to overstep boundaries in pursuit of her cases. And you have a tendency to interfere with justice? Victoria replies smoothly. Mrs. Marchetti, you should know that Mr. Rosetti's protection comes with its own complications. The Rosetti family's business dealings aren't always entirely legal. That's enough. Damian's voice carries a subtle threat. Elena is recovering from a medical emergency. She doesn't need this stress. Elena has the right to know all her options. Elena watches this exchange with growing alarm. The monitors are still beeping frantically, and she can feel her heart racing. Please, both of you, just out! Damian's voice cuts through her protests. Both of you are upsetting her, which is dangerous for her and her baby. Victoria Chen looks like she wants to argue, but the monitor's urgent beeping makes her reconsider. Think about what I said, Mrs. Marchetti. The offer stands. After she leaves, Damian moves immediately to Elena's bedside, his cool hand finding hers. Breathe, just breathe. What did she mean about your family's business dealings? Nothing you need to worry about right now. Damian, please, don't lie to me. He's quiet for a moment, watching the monitors gradually return to normal as her heart rate slows. The Rosetti family has been in this city for 2 centuries, Elena. We've accumulated power, influence, and wealth through methods that haven't always been entirely above board. But we're not the Torinos. We don't prey on innocent people. What do you prey on? His smile is sharp, revealing the hint of fangs. Those who deserve it. Despite everything, Elena finds herself smiling. That's not really an answer. It's the only answer you're getting while you're supposed to be resting. Dr. Richardson chooses that moment to enter, looking harried. What happened? Her stress levels spiked dramatically. An unwelcome visitor, Damian says smoothly. It won't happen again. It better not. Any more stress like that could trigger labor again, and at 7 months, while survivable, it's still not ideal. After the doctor leaves, Elena turns to Damian. 7 months? But I thought... You've been here for 2 weeks, he says gently. The medication has been keeping you drowsy. Time has passed more quickly than you realized. Elena looks down at her belly, noticing for the first time that she's definitely larger than she was. 2 weeks? 2 weeks of you getting stronger and the baby growing healthier. Dr. Richardson is optimistic that we can prevent early labor for at least another month, maybe 2. We? I've been here every day, Elena. Where else would I be? The simple statement hits her harder than any grand declaration could. You've been sitting in this hospital room for 2 weeks? Catherine brings me books. The Wi-Fi is decent, and watching you recover has been far more interesting than most things I could be doing. Elena stares at him. This impossible man who's upended her entire world. Why? Because you matter to me. Because your child matters to me. Because somewhere in the last few weeks, you've become the most important thing in my life. Damian. I know it's too much. Too fast. I know you're still grieving your husband, still trying to figure out who you are as a widow and soon-to-be mother. I'm not asking you to make any decisions. What if I want to make decisions? His silver eyes meet hers, hope flickering in their depths. Then I'm listening. Elena reaches for his hand, marveling again at how perfectly her fingers fit between his. I've been thinking, these past 2 weeks when I was drifting in and out, about Marco, about the life we planned, about what I thought I wanted. And I realized that what I thought I wanted was safety, stability, predictability. But what I actually want is to matter to someone, to be seen, really seen, by someone who chooses me. Elena. Marco married me because I was convenient, because I was there and willing, and didn't ask too many questions about his gambling or his debts. He loved me, I think, but he never really saw me. Damian's grip on her hand tightens. And now? Now I have someone who crossed a city to find me bleeding in a warehouse. Someone who spent 2 weeks sleeping in hospital chairs. Someone who looks at me like I'm precious instead of convenient. You are precious. See? That's what I mean. Elena smiles, feeling lighter than she has in months. I don't care if you're a vampire or a monster, or whatever else you think you are. I care that you're here. Damian brings her hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her palm. Elena, if we do this, if we build something together, there's no going back. My world is dangerous and complicated, and nothing like the normal life you planned. My normal life got me hiding in warehouses and nearly losing my baby to stress. I think I'm done with normal. His laugh is soft and wondering. Are you sure? I'm sure that I want to find out what it feels like to be loved by someone who chose me. I'm sure that I want my child to grow up knowing they're wanted and protected. And I'm sure that I've never felt as safe as I do when you're holding my hand. Those are good reasons. Are they enough? Instead of answering immediately, Damian stands and moves to the window, looking out at the city lights. There's something else you should know. About vampire bonding. About what it means to be claimed by someone like me. Claimed? It's an old word, and it sounds more primitive than it is. But when one of my kind chooses a mate, truly chooses them, it's not casual or temporary. It's permanent, binding, protective in ways that go beyond the physical. Elena feels her heart start to race again, but this time, it's anticipation rather than fear. What does that mean, exactly? It means no one would ever be able to hurt you without facing me. It means you'd be under the protection of one of the oldest, most powerful families in the city. It means your child would grow up as mine in every way that matters. And what would it mean for you? Damian turns back to her, his silver eyes intense. It would mean I'd finally have something to live for again. The simple honesty in his voice takes her breath away. Damian, think about it, he says, returning to his chair beside her bed. You don't have to decide anything now, but know that the offer is there, if you want it. 3 days later, Elena wakes to find Damian reading beside her bed as usual, but something's different. There's tension in the way he holds himself, and his eyes keep flicking toward the door. What's wrong? Victoria Chen is back, with a warrant for your testimony. Elena's heart sinks. Can they do that? They can try. Damian's voice is dangerously calm. But you're under medical care, and any stress could endanger you and the baby. Dr. Richardson has already made his position clear. The door opens, and Victoria Chen enters with 2 men Elena doesn't recognize. Mrs. Marchetti, I'm sorry to disturb you, but we need your statement regarding threats made by the Torino organization. My client has nothing to say, Damian says smoothly. I'm not your client, Elena says quietly. I can speak for myself. Both Damian and Victoria look surprised. Elena struggles to sit up straighter, one hand on her belly. Ms. Chen, you want my testimony about the Torinos? Yes. And you think that putting them in prison will make me safe? It will certainly help. Elena looks at Damian, then back at Victoria. What you don't seem to understand is that I am safe. Safer than I've ever been in my life. The Torinos haven't bothered me once since I've been under the protection of the Rosetti family. Mrs. Marchetti, you're being manipulated. Am I? Elena's voice grows stronger. Or am I finally being protected by someone who has the power to actually do it? The Rosetti family has shown me more respect and care than the justice system ever has. Elena looks directly at Victoria. Where were you when I was hiding in abandoned buildings? Where was your protection when I was bleeding and terrified? Victoria's jaw tightens. We didn't know. But he did. Elena looks at Damian, love and gratitude clear in her voice. He found me. He saved me. And he's been taking care of me ever since, without asking for anything in return, without making demands or threats. Mrs. Marchetti, please consider. I have considered. And my answer is no. I won't testify. I won't cooperate. And I won't put my child at risk for a case that might not even succeed. Victoria looks frustrated, but the monitors showing Elena's stable vitals and the obvious devotion in Damian's eyes seem to convince her that pushing further would be pointless. After they leave, Damian takes Elena's hand and brings it to his lips. That was very brave. It was very honest. Elena smiles at him. I meant what I said about feeling safe with you. Elena, There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have mentioned before. What? The confrontation this morning, your stress levels. Dr. Richardson thinks it might trigger labor again. As if summoned by his words, Elena feels a familiar tightness across her abdomen. Oh. How bad is the pain? It's not pain exactly, just... Another contraction hits, stronger this time. Okay, now it's pain. Damian is already pressing the call button, his other hand supporting her as she breathes through the contraction. It's going to be all right. It's too early still. 34 weeks is much better than 26, he says firmly. And you're stronger now. The baby is stronger. The medical team descends, and Elena finds herself being wheeled toward the maternity ward. Through all the chaos and preparation, Damian never leaves her side. Sir, you'll need to wait outside while we prep her for delivery, a nurse says. I'm not leaving her, Damian replies with quiet authority. Hospital policy makes exceptions for family, Dr. Richardson interrupts, appearing beside them. And Mr. Rosetti is family. Elena looks at Damian through the haze of another contraction. Are you? If you'll have me, he says softly. Elena, we need you to push, Dr. Richardson says. What follows is a blur of pain and effort, and Damian's cool hand in hers, his voice encouraging her through every contraction. And then, suddenly, there's a cry, thin and indignant, but strong. It's a girl, Dr. Richardson announces. Small, but healthy. Elena collapses back against the pillows, tears streaming down her face as the nurses work to clean and assess her daughter. Is she okay? She's perfect, the doctor assures her. Small, but her lungs are strong, and her reflexes are good. When they finally place the baby in Elena's arms, she's overwhelmed by love so fierce it takes her breath away. The baby is tiny, red-faced, with a shock of dark hair and eyes that seem to look right at her. Hello, sweetheart, Elena whispers. I'm your mama. She looks up to find Damian staring at them both with an expression of wonder she's never seen before. Would you like to hold her? Elena asks. Damian hesitates. I don't want to hurt her. You won't. With infinite care, Damian takes the baby into his arms. She looks impossibly small against his chest, but she settles immediately, as though she recognizes safety when she feels it. She's beautiful, he says softly, just like her mother. What should I name her? Elena asks. What names were you considering? Marco wanted to name her after his grandmother if it was a girl. Sofia. Damian looks down at the baby, who's fallen asleep in his arms. Sofia Marchetti. It suits her. Sofia Rosetti, Elena corrects quietly. Damian's eyes snap to hers. Elena. I've made my decision, she says firmly. If your offer still stands, about claiming, about being a family, I want it. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. 6 months later, Elena stands in the garden of the Rosetti estate, watching Damian push baby Sofia in a swing he had installed beneath the old oak tree. Sofia is healthy and thriving, her early birth just a memory now, and she clearly adores the man she's learned to call Papa. She's going to be a heartbreaker, Catherine observes, joining Elena on the terrace with 2 cups of tea. She's going to be strong, Elena replies. She'll never have to hide in warehouses or fear for her safety. And neither will you. Elena touches the elegant ring on her left hand. Not a wedding ring yet, but a promise ring that marks her as claimed, as protected, as beloved. No, neither will I. Any regrets about the life you left behind? Elena considers the question seriously. I regret that Marco died. I regret that he felt he couldn't trust me with the truth about his debts. But I don't regret anything that happened after. Not even finding out you'd fallen in love with a vampire. Especially not that. Elena smiles, watching as Damian lifts Sofia from the swing and spins her around, making her giggle. I spent so many years settling for less than I deserved, thinking that was just how life was supposed to be. And then I met someone who made me realize I was worth more. He's different since you came into his life, Catherine says thoughtfully. Lighter, more human, in the best ways. We saved each other, Elena says simply. As if he can hear their conversation, Damian looks over and catches her eye. The smile he gives her is full of love and promise, and the quiet satisfaction of a man who's found his purpose. Sofia babbles and reaches for Elena, and Damian carries her over to the terrace. Someone wants her mama. Elena takes her daughter, their daughter, and settles into Damian's arms as he joins her on the garden bench. It's a perfect moment, peaceful and domestic, and nothing like the life she'd planned. It's infinitely better. Elena, Damian says softly, his lips against her hair. There's something I want to ask you. What? Marry me. She turns in his arms to look at him. Is that a question? Or a statement? It's a hope. His silver eyes are soft with love. Marry me, Elena. Let me spend eternity showing you how precious you are. Sofia chooses that moment to grab for Damian's face, her tiny fingers catching his chin as she babbles happily. He laughs and catches her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. What do you think, little one? Should your mama marry me? Sofia's response is an enthusiastic squeal that makes them both laugh. I think that's a yes, Elena says, her heart so full she thinks it might burst. Is that your yes too? That's my yes too. As Damian leans down to kiss her, Elena marvels at the path that brought her here. From a terrified widow bleeding in a warehouse, to a woman beloved and protected, with a healthy daughter and a future full of possibilities she never could have imagined. Sometimes, she thinks as Damian's lips meet hers, the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the monsters turn out to be the heroes, and sometimes, when you've given up hope of ever being truly seen and valued, someone appears in the darkness and shows you that you were worth saving all along,